I still see her eyes, dark and cold, every night before I sleep. I never believed in curses, but that was before I met Adaeze. It was a few years ago in our small village in Nigeria. I was a farmer, working the land my father had passed down to me. Life was simple and predictable until she came along. Adaeze was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Her skin was like polished ebony, and her smile could light up the darkest night. Everyone in the village was enchanted by her, but I was the one she chose. At first, everything was perfect. We laughed, shared stories, and made plans for the future. But then, strange things began to happen. It started with small things. Tools going missing, crops failing. I brushed it off as bad luck, but it got worse. One night, I heard whispers outside our home. I peered out the window and saw Adaeze standing in the moonlight, speaking to a figure cloaked in shadows. My heart raced, but I convinced myself it was just my imagination. The next day, she acted as if nothing had happened. But the whispers didn't stop. I heard them every night, growing louder and more insistent. I couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. I asked Adaeze about it, but she always had an excuse.
It's just the wind,
she would say.
Or you might be dreaming.
Then one night, I followed her. I waited until she slipped out of bed and crept out the door. Keeping a safe distance, I trailed her to the edge of the forest. There, in a clearing, I saw her with a cloaked figure again. They spoke in hushed tones, and then I saw it. The figure handed her a small black object. Adaeze nodded, and they parted ways. I confronted her the next morning. Who was that? I demanded. She laughed, but there was no warmth in it.
Just an old friend,
she replied, but I could see the fear in her eyes. That day, I visited the village elder, an old man named Chinedu. I told him everything, and his face grew grave. You must leave her, he said. She's not what she seems. I didn't want to believe him, but the signs were there. The whispers, the strange meetings, the feeling of dread that hung over me like a dark cloud. I decided to leave, to escape whatever curse had befallen me, but Adaeze had other plans. That night, as I packed my things, she appeared in the doorway.
Where are you going?
She asked, her voice icy.
You can't leave.
I tried to push past her, but she was strong, much stronger than any woman could be.
You don't understand,
she hissed. I struggled, but she had held me fast. Her eyes were no longer warm and inviting. They were cold, black pits that seemed to suck the light out of the room.
You are mine,
she whispered, and I felt a sharp pain in my chest. When I woke up, I was in the forest alone. My chest ached, and I could feel something dark and heavy inside me. I stumbled back to the village, but no one believed my story. Adaeze was gone, vanished without a trace, and life went on as if she had never existed. But I know the truth. I can still feel her eyes on me, watching from the shadows. I don't sleep much these days. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face, hear her whispers, and I know deep down that I will never escape her.